Hello, everyone. Welcome back to another episode of On Purpose. Thank you for committing to growing yourself, to personal development, and to making a positive change in your life. You know that on this podcast, I'm dedicated to bringing you incredible guests with amazing stories that hopefully you can relate to, connect to, and start seeing how you can find your passion and your purpose and start creating a meaningful and fulfilling life. And today's guest is not going to disappoint. First of all, she's an incredibly dear friend, so I can't wait for you to get to know her story and for me to go deeper with her. That's one of the reasons why I love these podcasts. She's one of my wife's best friends, so you're going to get to find out a bit more about that as well. But on top of all of that, she's had a truly remarkable journey, and she's now the CEO and founder of Live Tinted, a new incredible beauty brand that's changing the way we think about beauty. I can't wait for you to hear about how she describes that and how she articulates that, because she's amazing with words, and her name is Deepica Mutyala. Deepica, thank you so much for being here.
I'm so happy right now.
Thank you. Well, I'm happy right now because we have never sat together in an official, formal situation. Not that this is official or formal at all.
But every time I'm here, which was yesterday, today, and again, probably tomorrow, you're always working and I'm always hanging out with your wife.
Yes, exactly. So Deepica literally lives here, which we love, And that's the interesting thing, that I've not always been sure about my wife's choice in friends. But Deepica is the best. And I absolutely love you. Like, you're amazing. You mean so much to both of us. And
I'm so happy you live in LA. Like, remember when we were like just messaging about it, and now you're here, and now I feel like you guys are like my family.
Yeah.
It's so great.
Absolutely. We definitely are family, and we both see it that way as well. And I think you've made LA even more natural for Radhi and I. And I think that's really special, because I think finding family is hard, especially as we get older.
At this age, right? It's tough, but you can always, there's an energy thing that I feel with people at this age that I don't feel like I had before, that I felt with you guys.
Yeah, same. But I just want to take a moment to say congratulations on all the incredible stuff that's happening around Live Tinted.
Thank you.
I can't wait to dive into the story behind it, why the brand exists, what it stands for, and what it's changing in the world. You had this incredible announcement in New York, in the New York Times. It was on banners all over the city. I mean, it looked so exciting. Let's just start there with how exciting that day was, that week was, where all of this kind of became real.
You know what it is like you work towards something for so long, and you have this like vision and hope that everyone's going to like just take it in the way that you want them to, but you don't actually know. And that feeling of the New York Times, the billboard in Times Square with the words Live Tinted written there. I mean, I felt like I gave birth to a baby, and it was the healthiest baby. And it was just like, everyone was talking about how cute the baby was. And it was just like, honestly, Jay, like it made everything so worth it. And that entire process to get there was such a roller coaster that I just feel so grateful, honestly.
Amazing. And that's what I want to unpack with you today, because I think, you know, we live in a world, social media world, where people are seeing all of these amazing things. Yeah. I was observing it that day and I loved it because I'm your friend and I see what you're doing. And there was such an incredible energy around it. I felt there was so much positivity, but people see that and then we forget what happened before it.
Yes.
And so I want to kind of go there, because you're from a South Asian background.
Yes.
Just like me.
Yes.
And the reason why I want to start there is just, did you ever think that little South Asian girl was going to build this incredible big beauty brand?
And I grew up in Texas, and everything around me was blonde hair, blue eyes, right? And there was a very specific standard of beauty I saw in the media. And my parents, who were immigrants, right, of course, from India, they had a very specific vision of what the American dream was. And for them, it was all about respect in America. And that came from education. Education on education on education, degree after degree after degree. And for me, my vision of the American dream was really doing something that paved the path for others, because in America, you have the opportunity to do whatever it is you want to do. Mm-hmm. And that was like so stuck in my brain. So when you say like, did I ever think I was going to be doing this? I feel like I'm one of the very few people I knew that would say like, yes, because like when I was 16 years old, I told my dad I wanted to create my own beauty brand. But the path from that to where I am now was completely different from what I could have ever imagined. But yeah, like he so badly wanted me to be a doctor. Because again, that equivalated to respect in America. And, you know, our whole family is in medical professionals in some way, stereotypical Indian in that way. But I just wanted something different. And so when I was 16, I told him that I was going to do it. But being a makeup artist in my dad's mind, it wasn't a thing, right? So it's like, how can you be a makeup artist and have respect in this country? So when I went to college, I kind of just had this mindset of I'm going to do the corporate side of the beauty industry, learn everything I can, and then go to HBS, Harvard Business School, to make my dad happy, check, and then start my own beauty brand. It did not go that way, but obviously, like, you know, life. But I will say that, like, I do feel really fortunate that at a very early age, I saw beauty as a vehicle for me to express myself in a community like Texas where nobody looked like me. So I was able to, and in some ways, change who I was to fit into people around me. Like I got I wanted your eyes. You're the one South Asian, well, you and your wife are like the gene pool of like the gods who have like these unreal eyes, but the rest of us got colored contacts to look like everyone around us. I got the blonde streaks. I wanted to look like what I saw in the media and everyone I went to school with. And for beauty was like my way of just like self-expression. And so I was obsessed with it. Like I would stay in on Friday nights and do my cousin's makeup. And it's so surreal because I like talk to them now and they're like, it's so crazy that you're doing it.
Yeah.
It's crazy how it all happens, man.
That's amazing. I love that.
Yeah.
I love that. Tell me about something you learned from that experience that has helped now. Like what was it in that traditional form of success or respect, like you said, that your parents saw as the American dream? What about that definition has helped you and has been useful?
Totally.
Even though you've taken your own path and paved your own way?
I think when you see the hard work that immigrant parents have, that when they come to this country, they feel like they have this there's this like bar they have to hit, right? Like it's like if we're going to have any type of prestige and just like be taken seriously, we have to work 10 times harder than everybody else. And quite frankly, I still feel that way. And I know we've had conversations about this, that like the reality is that being South Asian or a woman of color in general, like we're still fighting the fight. And I think the thing that I always think about and I tell myself is like, my dad's work ethic is of one I've never seen in my entire life. I mean, he talks about how he was literally like picking weeds in like India and like a village. To see that and what we have today, my family, like it blows my mind. And it gives me this like feeling of like, if they did all of that for us, I have to do that 10x harder.
Yeah.
It gives me this like fuel and drive.
That's such a beautiful point. I love that because I think so many of us can look back and be like, oh, I wasn't encouraged to do what I loved or it wasn't about my passion, but actually looking at it from the point of view of their work ethic and they did what they didn't love or they were passionate about.
Exactly.
With so much harder work. Like I said with my mom, it was my mom's birthday yesterday.
I know, I saw.
And you know, when I talk to my mom about it, I'm just like, she has put in so much work, like sacrificed so much. She did stuff she didn't love. She wasn't excited about. She wasn't enthusiastic about. It's not like it was meaningful or purposeful.
To provide for her family.
Totally, yeah.
And you know what's so sad about that? At least for me, I was so embarrassed of my parents growing up. And that makes me sick to my stomach now. I'm embarrassed of that now because my mom, she would walk out wearing like nighties and like movies and come like hang out with my friends. Our house would smell like chicken curry. And I was mortified to have people over because of that. I was like, Mom, like I want you to hide behind the scenes and like all this stuff. They're my number one fans, my best friends. And I now respect everything they've done for us. And I think that's a part of my goal with like launching this brand too, is like, I really hope kids growing up today realize how incredible parents are.
Yeah.
Everything they give up for us is just so insane and surreal. Like when I think about specifically immigrant parents, I feel like there's just so much that they sacrifice just for the well-being of their families.
Yeah, 100%. That's so true. And I think you've done a good job though, because if anyone follows Deepica on YouTube or Instagram, you'll see that she makes lots of videos with her parents in them. And they are the best videos. Like they're so fun to watch. They're so entertaining. Yeah, your mom is just adorable. And if you haven't seen it, I highly recommend go and follow Deepica on YouTube and Instagram and go check out those videos. Because,
Mama Pandu.
Yeah, so I think you've done a good job. I think my mom would love to be one of my videos and I haven't got there yet.
I was going to ask.
Well, I want to have her on the podcast.
Okay.
Like that's what I'm going to do.
Oh my God, that's going to be epic.
Yeah, it'll be embarrassing though, because my mom is literally my biggest fan too. So even if I try and push her to say stuff about me, I don't know if she's going to go there. So,
oh my God, that has to happen like ASAP.
Yeah, we need to do it in London.
So
but let's talk about how it all started from at least an external perspective.
Yeah.
And I'd love for you to tell me when you started with it. But it started when you started making YouTube videos.
Yeah.
And your second video went viral.
It did.
That's insane. Like, I don't know many people who can say that. And we live in this social media space and know people in it. Like, I don't know how many people can say their second video went viral.
It was like an out-of-body experience. So I was working on the corporate side of the beauty industry. So I was in the beauty game, just like I had planned, learning about the beauty industry. And I just picked up my iPhone one day and I was like, you know what? I have this like beauty tip. And the core of it, Jay, was like, I have so many of my girlfriends texting me, asking me for beauty advice. And I was like, just go to this YouTube channel and leave me alone. Please, just do it. And so that's literally the like motive of it. It wasn't overthought. I wasn't thinking too much into it. Picked up my iPhone and I just shared a beauty tip that I use to solve a beauty concern in my life. And that was a red lipstick under my eyes to mask dark circles. And because that is my number one beauty problem right now. And I think a lot of people can relate with that is, the dark circles and stuff. I have such an insecurity in my life. And so any way I could find ways to simplify beauty, I took my lipstick and I put it there and it got picked up by BuzzFeed and it just went viral.
That's crazy.
I mean, I woke up and it was like Vogue India, Cosmo UK, Daily Mail, Refinery 29, boom, 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 boom. And before I knew it, it was at 4 million views.
That's insane.
Oh my God. When it hit 4 million views, I got an email from the Today Show. And I was like, oh my God, I'm going to be the Indian Hoda. I'm quitting my job today. And I'm going to go be someone on the Today Show because that's how it works. That's not how it works. No. But I did quit my job that day.
Wow.
I had this like gut feeling in me that this was a moment in my life that I had an opportunity that it was like a 15 minutes, right? And it was like, you can take that 15 minutes and have it just be a moment in your life, or you can take it and build out your dream career.
I love that.
That's what I did.
That's amazing. Like that's such great advice too, because I feel like it's been really interesting for me whenever I've had moments. They have always given me momentum. And that's what I believe moments are. They give you momentum. Totally. And there've been so many people who've been like, Jay, you realize that's like, you peak now. Like that's it. And I'm sure, I don't know what you heard, but it's so easy for people to be like, yeah, that's 15 minutes of fame.
Every day.
And the difference is that you took that and you turned it into something amazing and it's just continued to grow.
You know what it is? I remember asking myself the same question. Right out of college, I had a job and I left it to go to New York City. And the question I asked myself was, what's the worst thing that could happen? And to me, the worst thing was not taking the risk and always wondering what if.
Yes.
Always. And I knew that if I didn't just take this leap, like, people, for me, I always knew I had another option. I could go to business school. I could go get another job at a beauty brand. But when in life do you have, at that point, 10 million people watching a video about you as a beauty kind of like expert or authority in this space? And so I was like, you know what? I have to go for this. And I actually didn't tell my parents. I just quit my job because I know their mindset.
You were in Texas at this time, right?
Oh my God, I was in New York. I was in New York. Okay. But I just, in my brain, they would be worried to their core. And oh my God, I have to share this because it was so funny. I remember going home that weekend because I was in my brain, the emoji with like, it just like bursting out. That's how I felt. I was like, what now? How am I paying my next paycheck? Like, what's going to happen? I had no idea. So I was like, I'm just going to go home for a weekend, hang out with my family, not tell them anything, but just rest my mind and kind of gather my thoughts. Of course, through the Indian grapevine, my dad found out that I had quit my job. It was like my cousin told his dad, who's my dad's brother. And oh my gosh, I was sitting on the couch. We were probably watching some like Hindi movie or something. And my dad was like, come into the study. I literally thought he was going to like take me to India, get me an arranged marriage. My life was over. I had all these like visions. And I walk in there and my dad, he hands me a check. And this is when I start to cry. I'm like tearing up. And he's like, don't think of this as me giving my daughter money. Think of this as me investing in a business I believe in.
Wow. Like, wow, that is amazing. That's like That is beautiful. That's so nice.
Yeah. And you know what it is like me from a pride perspective, I tore up the check and I handed it to him and I was like, you saying what you just said to me. And that sort of like, just him like, he's he was terrified. I know my father, he was terrified that I had quit my job, but he knew how much that mattered to me. And that was all the fuel I needed to keep going.
Wow.
100%.
I love that. I can't wait to see that in a movie.
Oh.
That's like such a like movie moment, like just.
Is it a Bollywood movie?
Could be. I don't know if you want to do a Bollywood movie, but
don't.
Yeah. But it's such a, as in genuine, I'm not taking away any of the energy from that moment. I just mean like, that is incredible. Like that's such a, I want to hear, and I know we have conversations like this all the time. And so anyone who's listening or watching right now, me and Deepica talk about philosophy and thought and wisdom all the time. So I know that you're very reflective and introspective in the way you kind of go about life, and everything's very intentional and focused. Take it back for someone. Let's say there's someone who's listening or watching right now and they haven't had that 10 million moment yet, right? They've not had that moment.
Yeah.
Talk to me about what would be some of your thoughts for them as to how they work towards getting to the point, not the 10 million moment, because I don't think that's the important thing here.
Yeah.
I think the important thing here is you saw that as a moment to quit your job and go all in, or you saw that as a launch pad or a stepping stone to get closer to what you wanted to do. Talk me through how that person should be thinking about when that's right for them, because I think timing is just so hard to understand, but also important.
It is. And I don't want anyone listening to this to think that like the viral moment is what you wait for.
Right.
It's not predictable, and it's not something that and that's why it happened for me, right? I wasn't predicting it. I wasn't strategizing it. I was just sharing a valuable tip that I felt like would help other people's lives. And so for me, when I think about how other people can go for that dream moment in their life, there's actual like real advice I can give around like, I didn't just take the leap and go, right? I made that initiative to start that YouTube channel. I picked up my iPhone, so I didn't make the excuse about like, I don't have the fancy equipment. I didn't make the excuse about I don't have time because I did it on a weekend. And I didn't make the excuse that like, I don't know anything about YouTube or whatever. It's called Google. I figured it out. When you take those layers back of all the excuses, right? Because that to me is the biggest reason that so many people, including myself at points in life, right, didn't just start something. And for me, the biggest thing is you just have to start. With my YouTube channel, I didn't know anything, but I just started, and it didn't matter, and it worked.
Yes.
And it was because I didn't overthink it. And I didn't just quit my job. I had a momentum that made me quit my job. And that momentum came from me just taking that moment and making the time and not making excuses. And so for me, I think like whenever people ask me like, what advice do you have for somebody that's trying to like go for their goals and dreams? It's like, just cut out the excuses. If you want this bad enough, you need to figure out a way to make it happen, and you will find a way to make it happen. And you've got to get that noise out of your head, right? Because like, I don't know. I would love to hear what you do. Cause like in my brain, there's so many noises. I'm like, okay, what if this? What about this? What about this? What about this? And you just got to cut all that noise and just be in the moment and be like, but what if you didn't do it? Yes. Then what? Then what would happen? And so I always say, always find a way to do that step one without taking that huge risk. Because you're already taking a risk by doing even that step one, right? And that's the hardest thing to do, that step one. Yeah. But once you do it, and that for me is like, I felt like I tested it while I still had a job, because that's the scary thing. It's like, how do I quit my job and just go for my dream? That's like an easy thing to say out loud, like, oh, when you hear it now, right? But in the moment, it's like, I didn't just quit. I had this momentum happening. I had built a Rolodex of network and a contacts for the past 10 years in the beauty industry. And then I made that happen. It was all one step led to another that led to another. It's never overnight. Whoever thinks it's overnight because of social media and all of that BS, it's a lot of hard work. And you and I talk about that a lot. Is like, it may seem like it because of a viral video, but before that viral video was 10 years of hard work in the beauty industry that made me confident enough to quit my job and go do this full time. Yeah,
I'm really glad you brought that up, because I think that the amazing thing about your story is you were already aligned and committed to beauty. So it's like you were gathering these skills, which is why now when you're a CEO, it's like you were gathering skills from inside the industry.
Yes.
So you were learning about it all the time. It wasn't just, oh, I made a video and now I understand beauty. It was
not how it works.
Exactly. And it's like, I understand beauty from a business perspective. Yeah. Now I've had a moment that's helping me gather more contacts, more networks, etc. But I've actually built that already. And I think that's awesome advice. And the second thing you said there is you were using your time on evenings, weekends, whatever it was, to do all the other stuff. And the funny thing is, that's so parallel to where I was at too. Like, it was the same thing. Like, I was working my day job and I knew I wanted to help people more. And so I started making videos, and that was it. Like, I still don't know how to turn a camera on. right? Like literally, I'm not kidding. Adan can testify for this.
Wow.
I have no idea because I've always wanted to be someone who can focus on my strengths and play to those and have people around me who can play to theirs.
Yep.
But I love that point that you're making. Just, it's not overnight.
No,
it's not that. And 10 years in the beauty industry is why that moment. This is the beauty of it, actually. So I'm having this, and I'm saying this for Deepica because she's so humble she won't say it. But it's like your 10 years in the industry is what means you can actually capitalize on that moment.
Yeah,
right?
You're totally right.
Like if you don't have that 10 years, even if you have that breakthrough or that moment, it can disappear or you won't know what to do with it.
Totally.
Because that work hasn't been there.
You're so right. Actually, I've never actually thought of it that way, but that's exactly it. Because when I quit, I was my own assistant, my own lawyer. I was my own lawyer, which is kind of dangerous, but I was like my own manager, agent. I remember I just literally emailed 250 people in my email database. And I was like my fake assistant. I had an assistant at Deepica email. It was a full fake it till you make it game, right? And I was like, she is now a beauty influencer and she's doing this and she'd love to work with you. And for every 250 emails, I got maybe 3 replies.
Yes.
But those 3 replies led to one job. And that one job, they asked me my rate. I threw out a number and they were like, okay. And I was like, oh, I could have like 3x that. And then you just learn from that and you go to the next thing and then you go to the next thing. But I just learned and I taught myself that, but it doesn't, I truly believe that because of being at these other beauty brands, I was able to leave and feel really confident about getting jobs as a beauty influencer. It wasn't guaranteed. And it took a lot of hard work and a lot of, to be honest, like I'm so extrovert. Do you consider yourself extrovert?
I do overall, yes.
So overall, I do too. And for someone so extrovert to just be going from a place where I was working in an office with all my best friends, I had a roommate who I also like. I had a roommate. I didn't live alone, and I was dating somebody. And at the same time, I was single, living by myself, and working for myself. And so I was just by myself all the time. I mean, for somebody that's that extrovert to go into that, it leads to a really, really, quite frankly, dark place in your own mind. It really did. I remember there was days I didn't want to get out of bed. But then the days I did go out of bed, I was like going really hard. But you have these roller coaster of emotions. And I never, to be honest, then I never showed that stuff on social media. I was too scared. I was too nervous that you had to be a certain type of way. I had to look a certain type of way. I had to have a certain type of confidence and fake it till I make it kind of thing. And such a core part of what I want to do now with Live Tinted is take those barriers away and show the raw, real story of it is not easy to build a beauty brand. Nobody just comes to you and hands you something. You have to work for it.
Yeah, absolutely. I love that. I think anyone who's listening and watching right now is going to just listen to your story. And I'm hoping that as you're listening and watching, you're recognizing just how much hard work goes into it. Yeah. And I want you to, I was actually having a really interesting conversation when I was working out this morning. And it was me, my personal trainer, and another trainer. And she was talking about how she'd been doing something for 15 years, the art that she wants to work on. And then we were unpacking that. And by the way, these two trainers are far fitter than I am. So they're always giving me like health tips physically. And then I'm talking about the mind and consciousness and all the rest of it.
Love it.
And she actually said to me, she goes, actually, now that I'm reflecting with you, Jay, she goes, I've only been all in for 12 months. So even though in her head, she felt like she'd been doing it for 15 years, when she actually reflected, she was like, actually, I've only really gone all in for 12 months. And I would really recommend that you measure whatever you're receiving based on when you went all in, not how long you've been studying a subject, not how long you've been thinking about it.
That's actually a really great point, because even when I was working on the beauty corporate side of the beauty industry, it wasn't until I started working on product development for that company, I was doing product development, that made me feel like, wait, like maybe I don't have to go to business school. Maybe I can start this beauty brand, and maybe this company is my business school, and maybe I don't have to go that specific set path that I thought like I had steps pieced out for me. And it was those, I would say, yeah, like 12 a year, that last year of working in the beauty industry that made me feel a little more confident that like, maybe my path is going to be a little bit different. And so again, when that video went viral and I did it, it was like, to me, I never thought, quote unquote, being a beauty influencer would ever be a part of my job description. Like, I'm a businesswoman. I had that ego. I thought about my parents. What are they going to tell their friends? Like, oh, my daughter's a YouTuber. What does that even mean? I every moment of the experience of being a beauty influencer had to happen for me to be able to build this, what Live Tinted stands for today.
I love that.
It's all steps, it's just like one by one by one.
Yeah. And we have to see it that way in the sense that and I'm sure you can, I'm listening to your story right now and I can see so many parallels with mine.
I know, I always feel that way whenever we're talking.
Yeah. And I'm literally going right now, I'm like, there were times when it looked like everything was falling apart.
Yeah.
But I had to go through that.
Yeah.
And I had to go through every one of those. And I wouldn't be anywhere close to who I am as a person or where things are for us without all those moments.
And I think you're so scrappy in the sense that, like, I was just talking to your team out there and they were saying how if everyone was gone and it was just you still doing this, you would be just as successful because you've done it before by yourself. So you would make it happen anyways. And I think about that. I'm like, yes, now I have people on my team and they help me grow quicker and stronger. And I feel mentally better. And I now take care of myself because I have that support system. But I also know how to film a YouTube video. I know how to upload that video and I know how to be a businesswoman. And I think those skills of being able to have to do it ourselves helped shape us into like work as hard as we do now.
Yeah, absolutely. I completely agree. I didn't even have a team until like 3 months ago. Like it's been so recent.
Yeah.
And people are still surprised that I do all my Instagram comments and I reply to everyone.
I also don't get that, by the way.
And I'm like, all my Facebook comments, like it's me. And I believe that if you want to grow something, you can't outsource it.
Yeah.
Right? You just can't. If you truly want to grow something,
totally,
you can't just give it away to someone.
Yeah.
Right? You have to be involved to some degree. Of course, you can have a plan and you can have a team and you can have agencies. But I know that a lot of people have this belief that when I find the manager or the agent, my life will be solved.
Absolutely.
And I felt that for a long time. I used to look at people being successful. I used to think, oh, they must have an amazing manager. They must have an amazing agent.
Totally.
And all I can honestly say, and I think Deepica is highlighting this too, which is what's inspiring me to say, is just that you are your best cheerleader. You are your best support. You are your best everything. Don't rely or hope to find someone who's going to save and change your life.
And that will never change, no matter how successful you are. Right now, I'm going through the fundraising process and you have this mental, and our mutual friend, Payal Kadakia, she obviously went through it too. And she told me, like, this doesn't change your life. When you get fundraising and you get investors involved, that does not make your life easier. It quite frankly complicates it all. And I think that's important for people to hear because there's this glorified idea you see, especially right now, women in tech fundraising. And it's like, wow, she raised all this money. It is a beautiful thing that finally women are getting to do that. However, what I've now learned through going through this process is it adds more voices, more responsibilities, and it doesn't mean that you have less to worry about. It has more people you have to answer to. So I think something I'm learning is now my job has just shifted from growing the team rather than like me focusing on doing the work. But what I think we both probably have problems with this is like letting go and letting other people do it. But I think you're so right. There's some things that I will never let go of.
Yeah.
Ever. Yeah. And that's important.
Of course it is.
It's you that's building this. And I think anyone who lets go of that is letting go of, I think, the strongest strength that a business has.
Absolutely. So now tell us about this. You have this incredible life as a vlogger, a creator, a beauty influencer.
Yeah.
But for you, you always wanted to do more. And I don't mean more in terms of better because people are happy doing what makes them happy.
Yeah.
But for you, it was always about business. You were always a businesswoman who became an influencer, but really had set your sights on being the CEO of this incredible brand. So tell me about that transition of moving away from this amazing thing you've built that's already working and it's already going great. But then you saying, no, I actually want to create something that's going to shift the culture, because that's what I think you're doing with Live Tinted.
Thank you.
Like you're really trying to shift culture and break down barriers and change the way things are perceived. So tell me about that transition.
I still remember being 16 and going down like a drugstore aisle and seeing no beauty products that worked for me and no women that looked like me. And I think that it's crazy. You have these flashback memories of your childhood. That's one that I will never forget. And I think it still lives on with me today. So when I quit my job to go be a beauty influencer, and this is going to be hard for people to believe, but in my core, it was nothing about the fame. And quite frankly, I am so excited that with Live Tinted, I get to be more behind the scenes and stuff. But it was the idea that I got to finally be the face of beauty brand campaigns so that girls growing up today are finally seeing their face in it. Like a L'Oreal commercial, a Samsung commercial. It's like, I never saw a brown girl on the TV. So to be able to build that, I think was a part of my goal and path to get to a place to change representation in the beauty industry, to see faces that I no longer saw. Because even within women of color, thank God we're finally seeing more African-American women, more Latina women. But what about everybody else? There's all these people in between that still need representation in this industry. And I felt like I fell into that too. So my goal really as a beauty influencer, and I use the quotes because I think there's everyone I know that's a beauty influencer, there's so much more to it. There's so much hustle and grind and entrepreneurial spirit than I think people realize when they just see that one YouTube video. And I think for me, it was all about changing the faces that you saw in the media. And so that's what I was doing really for the past 3 years. But then it got to a point of when is this brand happening and how is it going to happen and what is it going to look like? And if I didn't do the beauty influencer thing for 3 years, I think I would have built a much more niche brand than my goals and path and passion for building Live Tinted. Right. And I'm so happy about it because just like you said, to me, Live Tinted is a movement first. First and foremost, more than anything, our goal is to change the representation of beauty, the faces that you see in the beauty industry. And I feel like we're doing it, man. And it feels good. And I think the biggest reason of launching this, when I first started, everyone was like, why don't you just call it Deep Beauty and launch a color corrector and make it all about you? You and like brown girls. And there's a few reasons why. For me, it was time to build something bigger than myself. And it wasn't about just a singular voice or a singular culture identity. It was about building a home to showcase a whole range of women, a whole range of skin tones to say, I can be exactly who I am and feel great about it. That doesn't mean that wearing makeup makes you less of like a person that feels that way. It's more of, to me, the beauty products are just a vehicle for us to share our message, to make sure that inclusion and diversity is just the standard in the beauty industry. It shouldn't be like a campaign, which is how it's being treated right now. Yeah, that's so interesting. It shouldn't be a campaign. Shouldn't. Yeah, because what would that do? If it was a campaign, what are the negatives of that? It's strategic. It feels disingenuous and it's not making real movement happen. And there's a lot of brands that you can see capitalizing on that, which it doesn't bother me because at the end of the day, at least there is a token brown girl now, right? That wasn't something that happened before, and we need that.
It's better than nothing.
We need that progress. So even though, you'll see the one brown girl in things and the one brown guy in things, that didn't exist before. So at least that's step one to get to a place where this is just normalized. And so that's how I feel about the whole thing in general. But I think when I launched Live Tinted, it was so important. We launched in 2017 as a community first. And while we were doing that, we just used the community, we listened to the community to help us think through what was the first beauty product we were going to create. And it was truly made by them for them. And it just is so crazy, Jay, that what they asked for when we asked what your biggest beauty concern is was dark circles.
Wow.
So it was such a full circle moment for me to go back to my red lipstick video, and it all happened. It was like, there's clearly still a need in the market for this product. But again, for me, the product is so secondary to what we're doing, like with the campaign that we launched 3 weeks ago, which is so crazy, how all this is happening. But it was about